Dr Sharma. I'm a pediatric ophthalmologist. I have training in adult strabismus and I've done retinal subspecialty clinics as well as general ophthalmology. I am associated with the college, Sydney University, and I practice primarily in Bondi Junction and in Miranda. Today I'm going to talk about a silent epidemic that's facing ophthalmology. As we all understand, UV light is serious and damaging to the skin. We all understand the need to protect the skin so that we don't end up with diseases later on in life. And we also understand that the diseases often occur due to severe or significant sunburns in childhood or ongoing sunburns in childhood. But the diseases later on in life. The same thing we understand now happens to the eye. Even if we talk about skin cancers only, 5 to 10% of all skin cancers occur around the eyelids, areas that you can't protect with sunblock alone. Cataracts are also related to sun damage and UV exposure. Cancers on the surface of the eye, pterygiums in pingueculae, and macular degeneration is thought to have some of its pathogenesis in UV exposure during childhood. So like I said, all of us understand the importance of protecting from ultraviolet radiation. UV is the invisible part of the light spectrum. We understand that childhood UV burns results in cancers of the skin later on in life, and we're unknowingly allowing our children's eyes to suffer whilst we're busy protecting their skin with sunblock, hats, and having their arms covered with rashes. It's not just the skin at risk though, it's also the eyes that are at risk. This is so often the image you'll see. You'll see children playing outdoors with no eye protection, and yet their parents are well protected and the adults around them are also protected. This is some of my research with the team, and we showed that in children, by the time children are 9 to 11, 30% already have UV damage to their eyes that we're able to detect. And between 12 and 15, 80% have UV damage to their eyes. So we understand that, like skin, the eyes are damaged by UV radiation in childhood and the diseases occur later on in life. This study was published in the American Journal of Ophthalmology. It was the first in the world, and we looked at children here in Sydney. The World Society of Pediatric Ophthalmology and Strabismus have also put out a statement in 2015 talking about how important it is to protect children's eyes. Blocking UV radiation may have a significant effect in children by protecting the front of the eye, the anterior segment, the retina, which is the back of the eye or like the film at the back of the eye, and the eyelids, specifically during the time in life when there is maximum UV exposure and the least natural protection. So when we go out on a sunny day, if we don't put any glasses on, we do this. This gentleman's perfect example of where we close our eye, the non-dominant eye, and the dominant eye we squint. We bring down the brow, the eyelids, and we narrow our pupil to limit the amount of radiation and light entering the eye. But the difficulty is that when we put sunglasses on, we turn all of that natural protection off. And when we put sunglasses on, we really need to be putting something on that gives us the same level of protection or better than that squint reflex that we saw here. The problem is, if you look at this lady up here in the top right-hand corner, you can see the sun literally on her eyelids. In the child underneath in the water, again, you can see the sun on their eyelids, but now they're comfortable. They're not experiencing glare and they turn off all their natural protection. Looking at the little boy at the bottom, again, you can see the sun on his eye. So sun doesn't enter the eye and the UV doesn't enter the eye just from direct light, but that's how sunglasses are categorized. There is also overhead light and reflected light. 50% of reflection occurs off water or snow. So this young child playing in the water is getting reflected light from the water. She's getting overhead light, and you can see the light coming in the side as well. So conventional and fashion sunglasses, according to US Defense Force literature, shows that allows approximately 20% of the UV dose to reach the cornea, even if the lenses are UV blocking, compared to 2% with wraparound sunglasses having a wide temple. So you need to have the lens that needs to be protective, as well as the frame. So it's a lens and frame design that are really important. Many children's sunglasses are purely scaled down versions of adult sunglasses and are really not designed with kids' eye protection as their primary function. So a couple of eye doctors together have developed beamers. The mission of beamers was to protect all kids' eyes from preventable UV eye disease. We understood the literature and we understood the science, and we wanted to protect our own children. When we came back to Australia after big meeting, World Society meeting, we just couldn't find anything that we felt would protect our own children as best as we could. It's kind of like looking at SPF. You've got different degrees of SPF. Well, we're back at the classification system where we were with SPF when we had sunblock and no sunblock. Now we, in the future, should have moved towards classification systems that let people differentiate between different levels of protection, just like we have SPF 15 and SPF 30 for sunblock and SPF 50. So we developed through some R&D OptoShield technology, which we put in beamers sunglasses to try and protect our children and everybody's children as much as we could. So OptoShield technology helps prevent the direct light through the polarized UV 400 lenses, but with the wraparound design, the back surface coating and the polarization, we also try to minimize as much as possible the overall overhead and reflected light as well as the side light. You can see on these children, the beamers sit closer, and any of the sneaky light that gets in around the side gets pushed out the front of the lenses through their back surface coating. So at what time of day should we be wearing sunglasses? We all understand that with the sun and the skin, maximum damage occurs between middle of the day and 2 to 3 in the afternoon. But with the eyes, the UV damage is not just direct light. Like I said, it's overhead light as well and reflected light. So you can see that the maximum reflected light occurs in the couple of hours around sunrise and sunset. And depending on the time of day, as the sun elevates in the sky, we get different combinations of these. So we get UV damage between sunrise and sunset to the eyes. This looks at the penetration of radiation, ultraviolet radiation, onto the eye and into the back of the eye, the macula. You can see that maximum penetration occurs between 0 and 2, then 2 to 10, and then as we get older, it declines. So we really need to be protecting our children at the time of life when they have the least natural protections and maximum outdoor play, as well as everything is less developed. How do we protect the eyes? We need to educate the need for eye protection. Adults modeling the behavior and starting the cycle of protection is really important, and we do really need a classification system and education on how different sunglasses offer different degrees of protection. Kids spend a lot of time outdoors but have the least natural defenses. Like skin, the eyes need to be protected from both direct and reflected light. And in Australia, we have 1 in 3 children under 11 who already have UV damage between 9 and 11, which increases to 80%, 4 in 5 by the time children are 12 to 15. Beamers has ranges for the very young little kids, which are soft, flexible. They can write their names anywhere on the soft plastic, to the older children and even some adults. So you can buy your beamers through Glaucoma Australia, and happy to answer questions. This was a news story that we did on Channel 7 News about the need for eye protection. Thank you. Sorry. There you go. I can't see the questions. There you go. Okay. So let's look at these questions. Do lenses and frames have to be made by certain materials to be considered safe? There are standards that need to be considered, and most sunglasses on the Australian market reach these standards. Otherwise, they won't be allowed to be sold for the safety. Yes, we can't have them breaking in your eyes when you wear them, and the lenses can't shatter. But that's not something you need to really look for to know that they are safe in the sense that they're not going to break. Do they offer the maximum protection? Yes, there are things that we need to look for. The components of OptoShield technology, back surface coating, UV 400 lenses, the wraparound frame design are all important to try and maximize your UV protection. Are thick frames a hazard, and do they block field of view? I think what they're talking about here is when you look at the side of the lens, the frames, whether they block. They can block your view if you have a flat frame at the front. But you can see with beamers, we have a curved design so that although it's blocking the side, it's not interfering with your view. So it's, again, you have to see when you look through the pair of glasses that they allow you to have that side view, but usually a well-curved frame that's got wide edges will give you good field of view. Do clip-on glasses provide the same amount of protection as normal sunglasses? So here I'm challenging you to suggest that not all normal glasses offer you maximum UV protection. Clip-on glasses probably offer you the same amount, but every frame lens design is different. And so you really need to look at those components. And that's what I really want to get across today. It's not just, are they comfortable or do they feel like you get less glare? It's how much UV radiation is reaching the eye when you are wearing them, and how much of that natural protection that we would normally put on when we're out in the glare of closing our non-dominant eye and narrowing our pupil, narrowing our lids and narrowing our brow of the dominant eye is being turned off and allowing light to come in. What are the colors of lenses for? Different people will say that different color lenses feel more comfortable, and it depends on the lighting conditions. So obviously where you have a cloudy, overcast day and less bright light, then the weaker degree of tint allows more light in, because the lux on a cloudy day is lower than it is on a bright sunny day, where higher tints are more comfortable or darker tints are more comfortable. The differences between are often what people find personally more comfortable, or what looks fashionable with the color of the frames. Am I doing harm to my eyes by wearing tinted lenses indoor? I just find it more comfortable. No, because when you're indoors, you're also not getting reflected light and overhead light. So we don't need to think so much about the UV protection. They're just reducing the amount of light entering the eye, and you're not harming your eyes. What do the different grades of lenses mean? Is the darkest grade a hazard for missing detail? It depends on your circumstances. Yes, when you have a very dark graded lens, it can block your view, and they're considered not safe for driving. So there are different grades depending on what the glasses are being used for. If you have glaucoma and then cataract surgery at the beginning of summer, will you be getting a lot of extra glare? Is it better to wait until summer is over before getting cataract surgery? The answer is not really. You will get more light entering the eye. The new lens will block most of that UV light from entering the eye. When you do it, doesn't matter, because you're going to have that lens in for the rest of your life, and whether you have it in winter or summer, you're going to experience summers afterwards. So no, have the cataract surgery done at the best time for you and the rest of your eye health and conditions. Make those decisions in conjunction with your doctor. What does polarized mean, and how important is it? Polarized means that the light that reflects off surfaces and comes back to the eye is blocked. But the difficulty is if you have a flat lens and the light can get between the lens and the eye, then it doesn't matter whether you've got polarized lenses or not. You're allowing unfiltered light to enter the eye. When you wear polarized lenses like mine, these are my beamers, then the light can't get in, and then the reflected light hits the surface and is reflected away rather than it going up into my eye. Should I consider wearing eye protection while gardening and working outdoors? Yes, absolutely, for UV damage, but also from the debris of the gardening entering your eye, or any foreign body entering your eye. Are there any other questions? Thank you. Thank you for having me.